So it was announced today that Daniel Dubois will not be facing Joseph Parker this weekend, defending his IBF world title against him. In fact, it'll be Joseph Parker now defending the WBO interim title, which he would have been stripped of as soon as the opening bell went against Daniel Dubois. He will now be defending that against Martin Bakole on short notice. Now, I will talk about Bakole and Parker. I've only really spoken about it in a sense of breaking the news. I haven't gone in depth into how I think it'll go or anything like that. So I'll do that in a separate video. It'll probably go out in the morning at some stage Friday anyway. But let's just talk about what this means now for Daniel Dubois. And basically, this pretty much clears him up now to fight Oleksandr Usyk. I will go out and say that Joe Parker versus Daniel Dubois, for the foreseeable future anyway, is not going to happen. And I'll tell you why. Because, one, there's no guarantee Parker gets through Martin Bakole, because even though he's taken this fight on unbelievably short notice, he is still a very dangerous fighter. I look at Bakole, and I'm going to get into how I think this fight's going to go, but I look at Bakole and I think stylistically, oh boy, that does not complement Joseph Parker, that style, at all. It will cause him absolute fits, if it's a fully fit Martin Bakole, that is. There's no guarantee he gets through him. Even if he gets through him, you would imagine that Parker will need time off to recover. We don't know how long that'll be. He's had a long camp anyway, so that can's going to get kicked down the road. It also means now that because Bakole was set to take part in a final eliminator against FA Jagba in May, it now means that won't be happening. Essentially, what Bakole is doing with this is he's essentially foregoing that fight, that final eliminator fight, foregoing that to now face Parker for the interim WBO title. That would then make him mandatory for Usyk, but that mandatory, we don't know when that's going to be called. There's no real sign as to when it will be called, to be honest with you. So he's out of the running, so to speak, to face Daniel Dubois. In terms of the final eliminator, well, it would be FA Jagba against whom, you ask? Because you got to remember, with Bakole, they had to keep going down the rankings until basically they found someone who would step in. I don't think Jagba was like second or third or anything like that. I think he was quite a bit down. They'll likely do that again, and the rankings haven't been updated for the month of, well, they'll be updated probably the first week of March for the month of February. And Chisora recently fought an eliminator, not a final, just an eliminator. So you would actually say there's high likelihood we could see a Jagba versus Chisora. I'm not going to say for definite we would, but they might very well order that fight. You never know. But essentially it means that the can is kicked down the road now with the IBF mandatory. Bakole, win or lose, he's not going to be able to participate in a final eliminator, you would imagine. And if he wins, he'll be WBO, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. That then frees up Usyk. That frees up Dubois. Daniel Dubois has been, in my opinion, overlooking Joseph Parker. He can say whatever he wants to say. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Listen, he went into that ring against Oleksandr Usyk after he just beaten Tyson Fury, fully aware that a Parker fight was announced. It was signed. It was done. We were just waiting on a press conference. That's it. And he went in there, I want my rematch, I want my revenge, get me Frank, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. You're like, mate, you have a fight against a live opponent, not a little cream puff, not an easy voluntary, a live top 10, top 5 heavyweight contender, former WBO heavyweight champion, very talented fighter in Joseph Parker. Do not overlook him. Do not overlook him. Well, he was. In my opinion, that's exactly what Dubois was doing. He was overlooking him. He was looking at Oleksandr Usyk when he should have been looking at Joseph Parker. And here we are. He now doesn't have to worry about Joseph Parker. The path is free for him to face Oleksandr Usyk. Now, listen. Dubois, what we're hearing, it's an illness. Okay, fair enough. But you understand people are going to ask questions, right? And when I did a live and I talked about this, that's what a lot of people were saying. A lot of people were saying, well, that's very convenient because it now opens the path clear as day for him to face Oleksandr Usyk. Because bear in mind, a lot could have went wrong. If he'd have taken damage against Joseph Parker, can's kicked down the road. If he'd have lost to Joseph Parker, he would have to rematch him and then try and win it back that way. Can gets kicked down the road. This way, if he wants to fight in May, in June, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, undisputed heavyweight title, he's got no mandatories lined up. He's got no fights lined up. Nor does Oleksandr Usyk. They can make that fight. They can do it like that. Turkey, Usyk, Dubois, Frank, Usyk, everyone. It's like that. So they can do that. So a lot of people are saying this was part of a plan. I, I don't want to go down that road quite just yet. At the end of the day, you should always be, should look it down every avenue really. And would I rule it out? No. It's a hard one for me because again, and I'll reiterate it, I seen Dubois in interviews yesterday with Emily Austin and he sounded absolutely A-okay. He sounded like normal, which is just, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So it is a strange one. At the end of the day, this is twice or two fighters we've seen in fight week be taken ill. Maybe there's something in the air in Saudi Arabia in sense of maybe there's a bug going around, a flu. I don't know, but this, maybe there's something. Maybe it is genuinely just an illness. It happens. And people were speculating. If Parker was able to fight with a chest infection and this, that, and the other. Well, maybe the board have changed their protocol. I don't know. I remember Triple G when he fought Kell Brook going into that fight. He had the flu. I remember that. No issues then. Yeah, apparently Parker had a chest infection. I think there's been other occasions. I remember Luis Ortiz when he fought Brian Jennings. This is going way back. But Ortiz, when he was interviewed by Kellerman post-fight, was like, yeah, but he didn't say it in English, obviously, it was translated, but he said, I've had the flu all week. So fighters have fought sick before. But the crucial thing is, a lot of the times, I know Golovkin didn't keep that to himself, he let everyone know. But for the most part, they keep it to themselves. If they have a bit of a dose or the flu or anything like that. You may remember, what's his name now? Don Charles said he had the flu in the run up to the Joshua fight. Hence the reason why he wasn't at any of the press conferences or the weigh-ins, or I don't know if he was even at the weigh-in. He might have been at the weigh-in, I'm not sure. But you know what I mean. He was saying, look, he was sick, he was dying with the flu, as you do. The flu is not nice. I haven't had it in years, but it's not nice. And he didn't want to, pass it on to anybody. He didn't want it to affect Dubois on fight night. And yeah, fair enough. So, it does happen. But it's it's an interesting one. The path to Usyk is now clear for Dubois. And he's not going to, even if Parker wins, he's not going to wait around and say, all right, I'll give you a fight in June, July, August. He's not going to do that. It's going to be Usyk now, and that's it. That's what it's going to be. The path is now clear. That's the road he's going to go down. I would say, this fight, stick a fork in it, it's done. Joe Parker versus Daniel Dubois. Stick a fork in it, it's done. It's done, it's finished. It's not going to happen. Ever. Certainly not in the immediate future. So that's what I got to say on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, I'll leave it there. Peace.